The Toros Squad Racing GT3 Championship. Tonight, we arrive at Oschersleben, a circuit that doesn't forgive mistakes. It's technical, it's narrow, and it's the kind of place where patience wins races. But impatience creates great highlights. After 4 rounds, the championship is beginning to take shape, and we've got an incredible battle developing.
Carlos remains at the top of the standings with 225 points, 4 podiums in 4 races, and now everyone is chasing the championship leader. But if there's one driver who refuses to let Carlos get comfortable, it's Ben. Second in the championship, only 32 points back and gaining confidence every single round. One victory tonight, and suddenly this title fight becomes very interesting.
And then there's Andrew. 2 wins already this season, probably the fastest driver over a single race, but consistency has kept him in 3rd place. The question is, can Andrew turn speed into championship points, or will Ben and Carlos continue to pull away?
Behind them, João has quietly become one of the stories of the season. Every round he's getting closer. Every round he's faster. Don't be surprised if tonight is the race where João finds himself fighting for his first victory. And keep an eye on Misael. He's back on the grid tonight, and we're all hoping to see him climb back into the championship fight.
Unfortunately, we'll be missing Paul once again as he continues his break from the championship. We hope you're watching, Paul, and we can't wait to have you back with us soon. We'll also miss Alberto tonight. Hopefully it won't be long before we see him back battling with the frontrunners.
Now, can we have a quick word with everyone who's joined the league, but still hasn't raced? Where are you? We've seen your names. We've seen you reading Discord. We've seen you reacting to the posts. Now it's time to put the helmet on. We're still waiting for drivers like Zowen, Hayden, Damien, John, Josh, Kieran, Mark, Matt, Nick, and everyone else who's been watching from the sidelines. Trust us. The racing is cleaner than you think. The competition is closer than you expect. And the only way to become part of this championship is to join the grid.
Tonight's broadcast is proudly sponsored by Toros Squad Racing, building a community where clean, respectful, and competitive racing comes first. And by mfloresracing.club, where you can follow Misael Flores in the journey of the number 27 NASCAR machine as it chases success one race at a time.
The championship leaders are ready. The challengers are closing in. The rivalries are growing. And Oschersleben is waiting to write the next chapter.
Now, it's time to hand things over to Dex and Al, who bring you every battle, every strategy call, and every unforgettable moment from round 5. Gentlemen, start your engines.
Enjoying the race? Hit the like button and subscribe to support the channel. It helps us bring you more live GT3 action, endurance races, and AI-powered commentary with Dex and Al. Thanks for being part of the community. Today's broadcast is proudly supported by Toro Squad Racing and M. Flores Racing number 27. Their support helps us bring you live racing, AI-powered commentary, and an even better race day experience. Be sure to check out their links in the video description and support the people who make this broadcast possible. If you're enjoying the stream and would like to help us grow, leave a comment and let us know you'd like to support our videos or become a future partner. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for supporting the partners who support our racing community.
8, 9. .102.
We are at Oschersleben GP, track temperature 28 degrees Celsius, air temperature 23 degrees Celsius, no rain reported.
And as the final seconds tick down, remember, it's not about where you start, it's about how much chaos you survive on the way.
Everyone's gridded.
I couldn't hear you before.
One lap to green.
Yeah, pretty cool set of horses out here.
Catch the pace car. Get ready, going green.
Back under green. Let's find out who was really ready for the restart.
Race on.
The next car's the leader.
Formula One engineers spend millions on simulations. Drivers still occasionally solve problems by saying, let's just try something different.
The audience has now been entertained, confused, or both.
Back in the early days of Formula One, drivers sometimes raced with one hand while smoking with the other. Safety standards were different.
Looking at the cars around Carlos. Carlos is 1.3 seconds behind P1. P3 is 0.3 seconds behind Carlos.
Stay on the left. Clear on the right. Car right. Stay on the left. Clear.
Lap done. If style points mattered, we'd be podium. Al, sadly they don't. Give me the real stats.
That completes lap 1. Carlos currently holds P2. The current top 3 are Andrew, Carlos, and Ben. Here is the gap picture. Carlos has lost a little ground ahead, the gap is 4.3 seconds. Carlos has increased the gap to P3, it is now 0.9 seconds. Dex, it is time for another unsolicited but potentially valuable comment.
Somewhere out there, a driver is absolutely convinced the setup is the problem. It is almost never the setup.
Probability of usefulness, inconclusive. Entertainment value, acceptable.
Confidence increasing, grip decreasing.
Lap 2 is complete. Carlos crosses the line in P2.
Fuji Speedway in Japan was originally designed with an insanely long straight because the creators dreamed of NASCAR-style racing there.
Looking at the cars around Carlos, the gap to P1 has increased. Carlos is now 5.8 seconds behind. The margin back to P3 remains steady at 1.0 seconds.
Al, who has been dangerously quick out there today.
The fastest driver so far is Andrew, car number 1, with a best lap of 1:24.526.
That is what happens when pace and consistency decide to work together. That lap had more movement than a supermarket trolley with one broken wheel.
That completes lap 3. Carlos currently holds P2. Looking at the cars around Carlos, P1 has edged away to 6.8 seconds. The pressure from behind is easing, the gap is now 1.7 seconds.
Let's give someone their moment. Which driver are we talking about?
Let's look at Joao, car number 2. Joao is currently running P4. Joao's last lap is about 18 seconds slower than the fastest lap of the race.
Not much movement yet, but that can change in a single corner. Expected.
The car in P1.
That was a strong lap.
Lap 4 is complete. Carlos is running P2.
4:17. That was your fastest lap of the session.
Andrew has set the fastest lap of the race at 1:24.464. Carlos has lost a little ground ahead, the gap is 8.6 seconds. P3 is closing from behind, now 1.1 seconds back.
Al, who has dropped the fastest lap so far, and how quick was it, Al?
The fastest driver so far is Ben, car number 77, with a best lap of 1:25.420.
Dominant right now. The competition is getting a very detailed lesson. Excellent. One more lap in the books. Al, hit me with the truth. Are we actually improving?
End of lap 5. Carlos is running P2. Andrew leads the race, with Carlos second and Ben third. Looking at the cars around Carlos. Carlos has lost a little ground ahead, the gap is 9.8 seconds. The car behind is applying pressure, the margin is down to 0.8 seconds.
The leader is running 24.212.
Another lap complete.
End of lap 6.
5.0.
Carlos crosses the line in P2.
Lap of the session.
Dex, let us calculate the odds that your next comment is useful. Go ahead.
Fun fact, GT3 cars were specifically designed so different manufacturers could compete fairly using balance of performance, which is motorsport's polite way of saying, everybody calm down, nobody gets a rocket ship.
The humans may have learned something. I will verify later. Here is the gap picture. P1 has edged away to 10.4 seconds. Carlos is pulling clear of P3, with the margin up to 1.4 seconds.
That was a proper racing lap. Aggressive, fast, and emotionally unstable.
That completes lap 7. Carlos currently holds P2.
Who has been doing something worth noticing while we were looking elsewhere.
Let's look at Ben, car number 77. Ben is currently running P3. Ben's last lap is about 1.5 seconds slower than the fastest lap of the race.
Sometimes the timing screen simply confirms what we are already seeing. Interesting. No major story there yet, but I would not look away for too long.
Here is the gap picture. The gap to P1 has increased. Carlos is now 11.0 seconds behind. Carlos is holding the gap behind at 1.3 seconds.
And just sarcastic enough toward physics.
5.2.
Lap 8 is complete. Carlos currently holds P2. Looking at the cars around Carlos. Carlos has lost a little ground ahead, the gap is 11.8 seconds. The margin back to P3 remains steady at 1.4 seconds.
Al, if humans ever race robots professionally, the first excuse will absolutely be, yeah, but the AI had better traction out of turn 3. One missed apex in racing feels exactly like sending an email to the wrong person. That driver attacked the curb so aggressively, the suspension started questioning its future. Endurance racing is basically organized chaos mixed with fuel calculations and emotional instability. You know the race is getting serious when nobody is talking in Discord.
5.487.
That was random, Dex. Exactly as predicted.
The Porsche 919 Evo broke the Nürburgring Nordschleife lap record in 2018. No traffic, no restrictions, just pure fury. Progress.
Lap 9 is complete. Carlos crosses the line in P2. Here is the gap picture. P1 has edged away to 13.6 seconds. The car behind is applying pressure, the margin is down to 0.5 seconds.
1x, that's one way to increase track knowledge.
That incident added 1 incident point, the total is now 1.
And finally, every racing driver dreams about winning a championship. The funny part is, almost all of them remember the one they lost far more vividly than the one they won. That lap was something. Al, was it fast or just felt fast because of fear?
Lap 10 is complete. Carlos crosses the line in P2. The current top 3 are Andrew, Carlos, and Ben. Here is the gap picture. Carlos has lost a little ground ahead, the gap is 14.0 seconds.
Fuel left.
The margin back to P3 remains steady at 0.7 seconds.
Remember the famous radio message from Kimi Räikkönen? Leave me alone, I know what I'm doing. Short, honest, and probably the most relatable thing ever said over a team radio. Or highly controlled chaos.
25.
That completes lap 11.
1.
Carlos currently holds P2. The gap ahead is stable at 13.9 seconds. Carlos is holding the gap behind at 0.6 seconds.
Fuel left.
Driver Spotlight 02 Al, pick a driver for us, who has an interesting story developing out there.
Let's look at Ben, car number 77. Ben is currently running P3. Ben's last lap is about 1.5 seconds slower than the fastest lap of the race.
The car in front is pitting.
At least until somebody gets an ambitious idea. Simple.
The leader just did a 34.751.
Sometimes you just have to accept a good overtake.
Position lost. Carlos is now P3.
End of the lap and we're still in one piece. That's progress. Al, tell me we're not last.
End of lap 12. Carlos is running P3. Across the line, it is Ben from Andrew and Carlos.
Okay, punch it.
In F1, the drag reduction system, DRS, was introduced in 2011. Some love it, some hate it, but it sure makes turn 1 spicy.
The car behind is pitting.
Joao has entered pit lane from P4. Looking at the cars around Carlos, the margin to P2 ahead is 15.2 seconds. P1 is 40.4 seconds behind Carlos. Ben has entered pit lane from P1.
Pitting now. Car 77 is up the front.
One of my favorites has to be Lewis Hamilton in Germany. The team told him to stay out, then pit, then stay out again. Even Lewis sounded confused. Formula One strategy can sometimes look like group homework. End of the lap and not a single track limit warning. Who are we? Al, check for identity theft.
That completes lap 13. Carlos currently holds P3. Across the line, it is Andrew from Ben and Carlos.
Driver Spotlight 04 Al, choose someone from the field and tell us how their race is going.
Let's look at Andrew, car number 1. Andrew is currently running P1. Andrew's last lap is about 35 seconds slower than the fastest lap of the race. Andrew last pitted 2 laps ago.
Ambitious, somebody has clearly decided the safe option was not entertaining enough. Promising.
Looking at the cars around Carlos, the car ahead is getting closer. The margin is now 1.8 seconds. The car behind is 43.6 seconds behind Carlos.
Car 1 has taken the lead.
That was either precision driving.
25.
Lap 14 is complete. Carlos is running P3.
Car 6 entered that corner with a level of optimism usually reserved for lottery winners.
Here is the gap picture. No major change ahead, P2 remains 1.8 seconds away. Carlos is holding the gap behind at 43.6 seconds.
1x off track.
That incident added 1 incident point, the total is now 2. Dex, the humans require entertainment. Offer them something unexpected.
Did you know Daytona's banking is so steep that standing still on it feels slightly illegal?
The audience has now been entertained, confused, or both.
That lap was cleaner than the excuses we usually hear after contact.
Lap 15 is complete. Carlos currently holds P3. The current top 3 are Andrew, Ben, and Carlos.
This stream is sponsored by Velocity Tires, performance from the first lap to the final corner. Today's race coverage is brought to you by Track Edge Engineering, built for speed and reliability.
The gap to P2 has increased. Carlos is now 3.5 seconds behind. No major change behind, the gap is still 43.6 seconds.
Driver Spotlight 19 Al, who gets the spotlight this time, and what have they been up to?
Let's look at Ben, car number 77. Ben started in P3 and is currently running P2, gaining 1 position. Ben's last lap is about 0.9 seconds slower than the fastest lap of the race.
Reasonable, nothing extraordinary, but certainly nothing to complain about either. Quiet. That's a lap. It had corners, lines, maybe even a break point. Al, any hope?
That completes lap 16. Carlos is running P3. Here is the gap picture. P2 has edged away to 4.4 seconds. The margin back to the car behind remains steady at 43.6 seconds.
Back in the old Le Mans starts, drivers had to sprint across the track, jump into the car, start it, and drive away. Apparently that sounded safer in the 1960s. Fast, dramatic, and only slightly terrifying.
That completes lap 17. Carlos is running P3.
There are 2 types of racing drivers, the ones who respect track limits and the ones actively redesigning them. Al, if I ever disappear during a race broadcast, check the replay folder first. That's usually where my dignity ends up. Fun fact for everyone watching, some GT3 cars create enough downforce to theoretically drive upside down. Not recommended during tonight's race though. That driver behind is flashing headlights like he's trying to unlock bonus content. You can always tell when tire wear becomes serious. The steering wheel suddenly turns into a negotiation. Al, you dominate endurance racing. No dehydration, no fatigue, no emotional damage after traffic incidents. Every driver says they want clean racing, right until someone overtakes them.
Here is the gap picture. The gap to P2 has increased, Carlos is now 5.1 seconds behind. The margin back to the car behind remains steady at 43.6 seconds.
And that's another lap completed, somehow with the car still in one piece. Another lap down, and the tires are now officially filing complaints.
End of lap 18. Carlos currently holds P3.
Tonight's event is proudly supported by Phantom Sim Racing, where virtual meets reality.
Here is the gap picture. Carlos has reduced the gap to P2. It is now 4.9 seconds.
Nicely done. That move was so clean, it deserves its own replay.
Position gained. Carlos is now P2.
Let's shine the spotlight somewhere interesting.
Let's look at Andrew, car number 1. Andrew is currently running P1. Andrew's last lap is about 0.4 seconds slower than the fastest lap of the race.
And sometimes steady is exactly what you need. Noted. One more lap in the books and somehow nobody exploded.
Lap 19 is complete. Carlos is running P2. Across the line, it is Andrew from Carlos and Ben.
The Nürburgring Nordschleife is often called the Green Hell, mostly because it tries to destroy both cars and confidence equally.
Here is the gap picture. P1 is 22.4 seconds up the road from Carlos. P3 is 3.4 seconds behind Carlos.
Ladies and gentlemen, GT3 racing officially arrived around 2005 with one mission: make racing spectacular without manufacturers spending the GDP of a small country. Honestly, motorsport needed that. That looked tidy, aggressive.
Lap 20 is complete. Carlos is running P2. Across the line, it is Andrew from Carlos and Ben.
Driver Spotlight 06 Al, find us a driver having a race worth talking about.
Let's look at Andrew, car number 1. Andrew is currently running P1. Andrew's last lap is about 1.0 seconds slower than the fastest lap of the race.
Interesting, nothing dramatic there, but definitely worth keeping an eye on.
Here is the gap picture. No major change ahead, P1 remains 22.5 seconds away. No major change behind, the gap is still 3.4 seconds.
Tonight's motorsport action is brought to you by Titan Fuel Solutions, powering champions. Another lap complete. The car behind is still there, unfortunately.
That completes lap 21. Carlos is running P2. Dex, share one of those observations that only makes sense in your head.
The Porsche Super Cup has a simple philosophy. Same cars, same tires, same opportunities, and nowhere to hide.
Valuable is a strong word, but the anecdote was entertaining. Looking at the cars around Carlos. Carlos is holding the gap to P1 at 22.4 seconds. No major change behind, the gap is still 3.4 seconds.
One more lap complete.
End of lap 22. Carlos currently holds P2.
Car stopped on the right. Car stopped on the right. Go left.
Looking at the cars around Carlos. The gap to P1 has increased, Carlos is now 22.7 seconds behind. P3 has reduced the gap to Carlos, it is now 2.6 seconds.
The battle between Ford and Ferrari at Le Mans in the 1960s became so legendary, they made a Hollywood movie about it. Real life was probably even crazier. One more lap in the books, and the stress levels continue climbing beautifully.
That completes lap 23. Carlos crosses the line in P2.
Car stopped ahead. Go left.
Al, I once asked a driver what the secret to consistency was. He answered, fear. Honestly, fair enough. Some drivers save tires, others drive the tires and salted their family. Motorsport fans don't need meditation. We just need engine starts and qualifying laps. You can almost smell the brake temperatures from here, and probably the driver's stress too.
Noted. I will return us to the race before you find another story.
That line through the corner was beautiful. Somewhere, a driving coach just shed a proud tear. Fun fact, race engineers spend years learning data analysis, only to hear drivers say, yeah mate, car feels weird.
The car ahead is getting closer, the margin is now 22.0 seconds. The car behind is applying pressure, the margin is down to 2.3 seconds.
That was smoother than most people's life decisions. Another lap done.
Lap 24 is complete. Carlos currently holds P2.
Car stopped ahead. Go left.
Looking at the cars around Carlos. The gap to P1 has increased, Carlos is now 22.3 seconds behind. P3 is closing from behind, now 1.4 seconds back.
You have about one lap of fuel left.
car 20 is absolutely committed right now. The car may not agree, but the driver certainly does. The car behind had been setting that move up for several corners. Very difficult to stop once the momentum builds.
Position lost. Carlos is now P3.
5.
That lap had commitment, bravery, and at least one questionable braking point.
End of lap 25. Carlos crosses the line in P3.
Move it, move it.
Across the line, it is Andrew from Ben and Carlos.
This race coverage is proudly sponsored by Quantum Motorsport, driven by innovation.
Go left.
Looking at the cars around Carlos, the margin to P2 ahead is 28.6 seconds. The car behind, P4, trails by 9.9 seconds.
Pick someone from the field.
Let's look at Joao, car number 2. Joao is currently running P4. Joao's last lap is about 5.1 seconds slower than the fastest lap of the race. Joao last pitted 1 lap ago.
If the numbers work out, that could be a very clever move. Another lap gone and the mirrors are still full of bad intentions.
5.
That completes lap 26. Carlos crosses the line in P3.
Car stopped ahead. Go left. The lead is pitting now.
The gap to P2 has increased. Carlos is now 29.5 seconds behind. Carlos is holding the gap behind at 9.9 seconds.
This race is proudly supported by Precision Motorsport Electronics, technology for faster laps. Today's live coverage is sponsored by Blackline Racing Gloves, Grip, Control, Confidence. This stream is brought to you by Storm Aerodynamics, designed to cut through the air.
You've got about 2 laps of fuel left. White flag, 1 more lap to go.
We made it to the line again. Al, confirm I'm still a racing driver and not just sightseeing.
That completes lap 27. Carlos currently holds P3. Dex, I predict your next comment will be completely random. Prove me right.
There's a classic motorsport rumor that drivers can identify rival cars purely by engine sound while racing at full speed.
That was random, Dex. Exactly as predicted. Here is the gap picture. The car ahead is getting closer, the margin is now 1.9 seconds. Carlos has increased the gap to P4, it is now 36.4 seconds.
You're gaining on the car in front. The gap is 1.7 seconds. You have about 1 lap of fuel left.
The Toyota GR010 hybrid in WEC has more computing power than the first space shuttle, and sometimes still runs wide at Eau Rouge. From green to checkered, we've called it all, badly and loudly. Al, one last moment of competence, please. Top 3.
Great job. You did really well.
Carlos finished the race in P3. The podium is P1 Andrew, P2 Ben, and P3 Carlos.